dark history. Okay? So these 7 books will not be found in Protestant Bibles. That's why you need a Catholic Bible. So that's the Old Testament. Fortunately, the New Testament is shorter. How many books are in the New Testament?
27.
27. These are easier to remember. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. If the names sound like normal human men names, you're in the New Testament. Peter, John, James. Okay? You're in the New Testament. If it's Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Baruch, you're in the Old Testament.
But their names, when they were Jesus' apostles, weren't Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, were they? Or they must have had their Hebrew names.
They did have Hebrew names. These are their Greek names.
Again, that would translate into a Greek language.
Mm-hmm. These because they were all written in Greek.
So, Matthew would be
Levi.
something else.
His Hebrew name was Levi.
Oh, okay.
And Mark?
Mark is
I don't know what his Hebrew name was. We don't have all of the Hebrew names of the apostles. For example, Bartholomew's Hebrew, that's his Greek name. His Hebrew name is Simon, I believe.
But Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, we take those as for today's Bible, but they would also be unrecognizable as the others are for the times for us.
They could be, yes. The only one that we know for sure of this lot would be Matthew. Luke was a Greek. He wasn't Jewish. Luke is the only non-Jewish written book of the Bible.
And a doctor.
Yes. All the other books of the Bible were written by Jews. Luke and Acts are the only books in the whole Bible that were written by a non-Jewish man. And that was Luke. Everything else was written by a Jew.
Jesus is a Jew.
Yes, Jesus is a Jew. Yes.
And Luke is the only one who has not seen Jesus compared to Matthew, Mark, and John.
Yes, correct. They were eyewitnesses to Jesus.
Eyewitnesses.
Mm-hmm. Luke got his information by interview.
Synoptic.
Okay? And these are the historical books of the New Testament. So again, like in the Old Testament, we have history books, we have wisdom books, and we have prophetic books. The wisdom books are everything else in the New Testament. Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians. The way that you remember this is that you go eat popcorn. These are little Bible tricks that you learn in Sunday school, my brothers and sisters. Go eat popcorn. Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians. 1st and 2nd Thessalonians. 1st and 2nd Timothy. Titus. So the next 3 books are all T's. Thessalonians, Timothy, Titus. Philemon. Hebrews. James. 1st and 2nd Peter. 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John. Jude. This is all Christian wisdom. These are all your theology that we get from the New Testament. From Romans to Philemon are all written by Paul. St. Paul wrote Romans all the way through Philemon. Those are his books. Many attribute the book of Hebrews to St. Paul. I don't. Those of you, well, I think Chris Prime is probably the only living witness to when I first started the Bible study here. When I did the book of Hebrews and I went over that, I believe the Apostle Barnabas is the one who wrote the book of Hebrews. But in truth, no one knows who wrote the book of Hebrews. No one's for sure about it. I think it was Barnabas. And I have my reasons. Then there's James, 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st, 2nd, 3rd John, Jude. Again, this is all wisdom. The only prophetic book in the New Testament is the book of Revelation. So just like the Old Testament, you can divide the New Testament into history, wisdom, prophecy. Prophecy not meaning foretelling the future, meaning giving forth the words of God in the form of an oracle.
Again, Chip, the three
Historical.
History, wisdom, and prophecy.
in Old Testament.
And Old and New Testament are divided in that way. Okay? We're going to end with this trivia, and then we'll pick this up next week. The longest book in the Bible is the Psalms. So again, when you're on Jeopardy, and it's Bible for 200, the longest book in the Bible is?
Psalms.
There has 150 chapters. The shortest book in the Bible is?
2 John.
2 John. It's only 13 verses long.
Wow.
I call it a postcard, not a letter. It really is. It's just a postcard. So cute. The longest chapter in the Bible is Psalm 119. It has over 176 verses. One book, one chapter, 176 verses. Beautiful psalm. Psalm 119. Beautiful. The shortest chapter in the Bible is Psalm 117. It's only 2 verses long. 2 verses. That's it, whole chapter. The longest verse in the Bible is Esther 8:9. If you look in your Bible, it's like this long in your Bible. I mean, it's like a quarter of a page. Esther 8:9. Now, I wonder if anyone happens to know the shortest verse in the Bible. Jesus wept. John 11:35. 2 words. Jesus wept. It's the shortest verse in the Bible. There's probably been more 2-hour sermons written about those 2 words than probably any other verse in the Bible, maybe John 3:16. But 2 words have inspired so much. Jesus wept. Does anyone remember where Jesus
When Lazarus
wept?
died.
And when Lazarus died, yes, he wept at his funeral. Okay? So this is just a little trivia for you to know about the Bible as well. Okay? And I think that's it. Yep, that's it. I'm going to stop for here, and we're going to pick it up next week on our Bible introduction. I'm going to start. Boy, you can't read that. What translation should I use? That's what we're going to start with. And I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Chip. Thank you.